we're trying to give the audience at this stage, those people that are maybe viewing in, possibly even for the first time, an understanding of what we speak, what we say, and how we conduct ourselves with those words could be, to a large extent, the most damning thing that happens to us, because it's what comes out of your mouth is based on consent. If you don't understand the words, such as what's in law dictionaries or the actual English dictionaries, we have Webster's 1828, we have a New World Webster's, there's of course Oxford, there's many dictionaries. But if you do not understand the meaning of the word and then you're speaking it, you can understand how ridiculous that would be, because what you say is being recorded, especially in a courtroom. And if it is not coherent, it does not make sense, then it would not enable you to act or walk in an honorable way under those circumstances. Even though our world seems to work in an idea of this fictional man rule away from God, but that appears to be the day that we're in right now. A day that people believe that they can actually rule themselves, and we know that's not working well. So we don't want to go down those avenues. But words are extremely important. Remember, words contain letters. Letters are like a message. And if you do not know what each letter means, you may not know what the word means. But in simplicity, if you don't even understand what the word compiled with the letters mean, and then you start speaking these things, which is what happens all day long, go to any courtroom and see the confusion going on there more than not. Even the lawyers themselves more than not don't even know what they're saying anymore, because they do not have the knowledge as lawyers did in the past. In fact, they were actually even referred to as grammarians. Gram being weight, mar being hindrance. So you can imagine that words could have quite a hindrance on someone if they did not use them properly. So in this video, I'm just going to point to a couple key things that would be good for people to do. I'm not trying to make your life turn into a library journey. I'd rather it just that you find a couple key books that may help you out to improve on your understanding and your knowledge of words, your comprehension. Because if you comprehend up here and in here truth from a word, then you'll use it properly, and that will at least enable you to lay a foundation when you're in any circumstance. Better to say the least well than to say many words improperly. So again, simple. You can usually find a lot of dictionaries thrown out. Most of the dictionaries that I've ever come across have been generally found in used bookstores, community throwaway, recycle-like stores that would usually find books for less than $1 or $1 or $3 for $1. So I found many, many dictionaries, large size, way larger than this, even thicker than this, for $1. So do not feel you have to go and buy a brand new one, though I'm not trying to step into the world of commerce here, recommending an actual format to go make money for some particular bookstore in general. I'm just saying that you can find inexpensive ways to improve your knowledge. So off the top, one would be just a simple dictionary. Try to find something thick. Do not find it, don't try to look for those little condensed dictionaries. I find generally in the smaller condensed dictionaries that are modern, more in the last 25 or 30 years, there is usually such a condensed use of the word that it does not give the broad overview of the word. Therefore, it will possibly lead you to a very narrow usage that seems to be done by the masses for convenience, and it doesn't mean it is the real, complete, accurate use of the word or what it originally meant. So I would far more go to a larger dictionary such as this. So here's a New World Dictionary, Webster's. There's also, I've used this recently, the Noah Webster's 1828. Tends to have a lot more biblical quotes in it. There's Oxford's, they have a complete set. You may be fortunate enough to find someone who's just throwing them out, and you'll find if you look and you seek for this, you'll generally get them for pennies on the dollar. So you don't have to go out there to go into great debt to actually find a selection of decent dictionaries. Smaller dictionaries that are from the past, like something 1930s, 1940s, you'll find that those smaller condensed dictionaries will have a lot more direct pointed meanings to the words. So you can find at times in a smaller one, but generally it's based on the timing and the age of that dictionary. The modern ones I find are, to me, not of any value. So I would generally not be carrying around a small condensed version of any of those mainstream titled dictionaries. One thing, if you're going into research into the Bible, then I'd be going to a Strong's Concordance. They're fairly inexpensive. There's a Strong's Exhaustive. Again, there's many sources to find these things, depending on where you're looking. If you can't find them at a used bookstore, then generally you probably will find them through some of the Christian bookstore sites that may be able to bring you to that at a fairly inexpensive price. Again, I'm not here really promoting anyone in particular. I'm just saying that there are some Christian bookstore sources that are actually quite inexpensive, and you'll find them a lot of times half or a third less than the price of what you'd find in a mainstream bookstore.
A good example of that, tell them about our friend who just informed us that this set of 6-volume Matthew Henry commentaries on the Bible is on sale at one of these Christian bookstore websites.
There's a Christian bookstore's website that actually has the Matthew Henry commentary. We found them as low as $29.95 for a 6-volume set, so you'll actually receive 6 volumes. It's the earliest commentary on the King James Bible. I'm not trying to promote an idea that someone is more to be read than the Bible. I'm just saying that when you're looking back 300 years ago or more, people had more of a command and a knowledge of the Bible than I believe people do today. And as language has been almost dumbed down over the last several centuries, we now have a less understanding of words because we use words like smart. We use words like job, but we don't know what they mean. Most people would never know that the word job means official public business for private dishonest gain.
Which is interesting because that leads to a pension, and what's that defined by Samuel Johnson?
Samuel Johnson's Dictionary of 1755, which you can get. I don't have that in front of me right now, but we will get that during this video. We'll show you a Samuel Johnson's Dictionary of 1755. Mark, if you actually just look in the case that's in the other room, you'll find that. But the Samuel Johnson's Dictionary 1755, there is a first edition that is out there, but it's quite expensive. Most people won't find an original because the price tag on it, from what I've checked, is usually upwards of $20,000 or more. But there is a book with the excerpts done by a modern writer who takes out various excerpts out of an original first edition. Do not look for second, thirds, fourths, fifths, sixths, and sevenths, because they're not the same as the first edition, and you would pretty much be wasting the value of what you'd find in the first edition by going to these others, because it appears it was unliked or disliked and very much opposed, and therefore there became a dumbing down to remove things out of it. So as I went down to other editions of the Samuel Johnson's Dictionary of 1755, you'll find the later editions to actually remove very important factual definitions to get you the understanding of these words. Pension, which is another word that we use quite frequently in the world of commerce, whether we have a pension from the government or a pension from basically a company, which we know everything is regulated or attached in some way to law, the government, the banking. The word pension in Samuel Johnson's Dictionary of 1755 reads, it's from a French word, pension, an allowance made to anyone without an equivalent. In England, it is generally understood to mean pay given to a state hireling for treason to his country. Now, for most people who do not understand what's going on, they go, well, how could that be? Because I receive a government pension. I'm not going to get into the details of that, but that's what the word means. A later video will get more into probably why that meaning is so highly hated at that time. We're dealing with words like smart. Smart means injury. You remember as a child, if you grew up probably prior to the 1980s, The word smart would have meant if you banged your foot or your hand or your leg, you would have said that's smart. Well, that's an injury. So smart, do not relate that as intelligence. It has nothing to do with wisdom. It means an injury. So that's why we have everything with this idea, why don't we get smart? There was a TV series that was there to educate you on that. Because certainly the agent in Get Smart, the series that came out in the 70s, was certainly a comedy, but it was dealing with someone who was an agent with the last name Smart, who wasn't acting very smart, or very intelligent in the series. So we want to relate to that word we use all the time, but it's not accurate to be what it is.
It's also interesting that we go to college and university to get a degree, and people think that they're getting smarter. And when you degree, you actually go down in knowledge, not up.
That's right. So it's a further injury, because usually when you put your mind to being closed, that's what it is, you will find that you're generally going to not agree with things, and we learn not to agree, to debate everything. It's fine to debate something, to challenge something for the purpose of finding true knowledge, but to just debate, to have aimless wandering into arguments, which generally is what our society does. We spend a lot of time in chaos arguing things that we don't even understand the meanings of the words. So there's no point even going that way. I'd recommend also to do a good study into the Bible and read the book of Job, though spelled identical. You will find there's a reason for that. Mainly because the original challenge, I kind of call it the first bet, I call it the alphabet. It was the first challenge that was made upon one of God's servants, that Satan, the fallen angel, had stated the fact that man would never serve God purely out of love. He would only serve him for financial reward or secular or what we consider to be monetary property reward. And therefore you could understand why the word or the name Job meant persecuted one. And that's why a word like job would mean official public business for private dishonest gain, because that was the original challenge made against Job. So let's open our minds that we need to do a little bit of research. You do not need to overwhelm yourself with study, because it'd be like eating a 20-course meal. Take small tastes daily, because it's better to absorb something in a small manner, a small meal. So do a little bit of research on the words you use and go to the dictionary, a larger dictionary, find out what they really mean. You can go into more in-depth knowledge later in study by going into Letter Perfect. These are books that are available. Letter Perfect goes into the origin of the letters in our language, what they mean. But remember, a letter is a message, and therefore a letter, if someone sends you a letter, then you would want to know what the meaning is. So many of our letters are formed a certain way in English to give you an understanding. And certain letters represent a certain meaning every time. So when you combine all the letters together, then you have an understanding of the word. And I'm finding that people have never thought that, have no understanding of that. They do not even understand that the English language belongs to England. Therefore, whoever is basically using the English language is using something that belongs to that government. And therefore, England owns English. But if you didn't look at the earlier understanding of that word, you would never know that. So it is someone's intellectual property. And it is a debtor's language because it borrows many letters from other languages. So it refers to itself as being a debtor's language. So when we use it, and society in general uses the English language worldwide, it's used for entertainment and commerce, you can understand why that would be a debtor's language, because this world is highly in debt right now. So every time you fill out a form, you are filling out a form as a debtor. There is no other way to look at that. There is no possible way you could ever breach that. You do not own the language. You're not the inventor. You do not have a position other than a debtor involved with it, whether you speak it or whether you fill out forms with it.